I'm gonna do some more stuff on this. And first of all, I'm gonna shift you out of the way. I'm gonna take my handy dandy kneaded eraser and just try to get rid of the tone down some of the obnoxiousness of these lines. I will say a kneaded eraser is the best for this, and trying to don't scrub. Kneaded eraser is better at just sort of lifting and absorbing. So that's all well and good. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do three things, I think. Even though I said this has got to stay white, there's such a big jump here. You know, in hindsight, I would have started by making this lighter. But I think I'm coming to terms with it being okay if this is really, really watery and light. In fact, it's probably good steady because the rest of this paper will be white. And I'm even toying with doing something down here. But this, and then I'm also going to adjust that. So that's several things. I'm going to shift the water and paint a little off camera. And I'm going to get my number 8 Casaneo, like I've been using, and what am I gonna do? What are you gonna do, Farron? I'm trying to mix sort of a color that you barely notice exists, but just enough to register. And if it seems too dark at first, then I'll just sort of go grab some more water. But I'm also gonna try to coax this edge and see if I can clean that up a little bit. So I just added a little bit more water just in case, and I think I'm okay. I don't think that's that's cool. It's not really wanting to clean that edge. If I really want to do that, I would use a brush that's a little bit stiffer. But I'm still just worried about making really even washes. So that, I know, is some riveting video. Hopefully it is a little bit. Gonna get a thirsty brush. I'm leaning back a little bit, and oh man, this is dangerous territory. Not really dangerous, but I'm feeling like, man, do I want it even a little touch darker? Because I know it's going to dry a little bit lighter. So maybe if I mix something like that and drop it in. Will that make this, you know, the steps, the interval between each step's a little more even. going to go with that. Come over here and clean that up a little bit. I just grabbed a little bit more paint. And now go to Thirsty Brush and get rid of that. So I'm squinting. I do want to try to make this column or row, depending on how you're holding it, a little bit darker. And I might try to also do kind of a similar thing and clean up this shape. Got a little bit too thick. But part of the tricky part for adjusting something like this is I want something that's not too dark, but it's still going to be dark enough to make this shape a touch darker. I don't really have this figured out very well camera-wise, but I'm erring on the side of making it a little too light, like I did on that one. Just like I feel like I do pretty much everything. So like that first one, I'm trying to overlap a little bit of that shape to see if I can coax that color awake and kind of make it look like I didn't paint that one too big like I did. It is getting darker, that's good. And I'm looking around to see if I have a good brush to deal with that. I think I'm going to get out. Well, I am going to try to deal with that edge a little bit more in this pass, but I'm still just want this whole, defining this whole shape. I'm trying to get the value I want in a clean wash. Thirsty brush. Every time you see the brush go off camera and you don't hear a swoosh swoosh, probably just doing a thirsty brush. So this shape is still nice and wet, so I can sort of I can still address the whole thing. So I'm gonna get this a little stiffer brush. Not sure how much this is gonna kind of scrub away. More than that, the Casaneo. If I really wanted to, I could use more of a scrubber brush and sort of a different way. I'm not going to do that. This is a good way to see how much you can adjust things with just this nylon synthetic brush. Because that won't mess things up. That won't scratch it up as much as a scrubby brush. I want to see how that dries. Then you should do it. Um, I'm tempted, and I'm going to. I'm tempted to go back in, and I'm looking to make sure the shape is still wet throughout the shape, and I'm doing that just by looking at it sideways and seeing the sheen. So it's all still wet, so I can come back in and introduce a brush that's at about the same dampness. Well, I want to see how that dries. I think it'll be okay. This one, I am going to try to rearrange my stuff here. So what I want to do with this one is I want to come over this shape. I want to, I'm going to just paint in clear water at first, and then I'm going to dab in a little bit of color. But what I'm trying to do is introduce some atmospheric perspective, and I'm going to try to make these edges, tame these edges down a little bit of these hills, because those would start fading out quite a bit as it keeps going away. And I'm not sure if I'm going to just try to use one of the Castaneos, or maybe I'll use that number 2 brush again and just see if I can soften these edges. But this is something that it took me a while to try to come to terms with, because I'm going to be painting over things with water, and it's quite possible that I'll wake up some color, but I'm trying not to. Actually, I'm trying to wake up some of that paint at the edge. And I'm changing my mind on the fly, so that's always fun. I'm going to actually go down to this first shape, and I could do the whole thing. I'm not going to, though. So I'm going to just try to mist things up a little bit here. That edge especially seems like it got so I'm still using this pretty soft brush. It's tricky to, you're going to have to keep looking at it at an angle to see if this shape is staying wet. And for this kind of thing, I sort of want some of this color to move around a little bit. But it is possible to, if you don't sort of use a soft brush, especially at first, and get everything wet and try to just gently coax things, it's kind of easy to scrub away a little too much in one area and make it look annoyingly scrubbed away. So this hill would be the furthest, so trying to make that. A little hazy and fuzzy. And the last thing I'm going to do with the shape, well, first of all, there's some pooling water that I'll get a thirsty brush and get rid of. That got a little something. And I'm going to drop in a little bit of, I think I want a number 8. A little bit of darker color up in this corner that I want to sort of just float around this whole shape that I've wet. This is trickier with this 140-pound paper because it's not going to want to move around very evenly. And you're probably noticing there's a decent amount of buckling going on. But let's see. And when it stops in spots where it's not moving, I'm going to just bring in a little bit more of that color. I'm going to try to think about not making it really, not bringing in a whole lot of new water. But just dabbing in a little bit more water because maybe I can get it, I can coax it to go over there and not spill over without introducing more brushwork. So I get it that this doesn't necessarily feel like painting, but you know, sometimes you just gotta make that sacrifice. No, I find it quite fun moving the paint around by moving around the painting. Oh heck. I feel like there's a little too much paint that's pooling in some areas. So I'm just grabbing a little bit more clear water. Look, it's almost like it's gonna make a little background cloud, but which is another possible fun thing to do. Yeah, that seems a little bit more what my original idea, which granted was in my head and you didn't know exactly what it was. But that has several effects, and I hope it will dry pretty smooth. I'm gonna keep shifting it around a little bit, and if it doesn't dry all the way smooth, I can deal with that. I'll get a thirsty brush. It's definitely at a point where it's sort of diminishing returns right now. So I'm going to be okay with how it is and let it dry. Are you, teacher? Yes, I will. I'll let it dry and then come back and see how it's going and see if I want to adjust some more. But that helps unify that sky shape and push these hills back a little bit, just enough. And yeah, this is one of the downsides of 140-pound paper. So I will let it dry, and then I'll be back. That's looking good, and that's looking good. Okay.